We're all very well aware what our orders are and what those orders mean. They contain no ambiguity.
Captain.
Mr. Hunter, I'm captain of this boat. That's it! Up!
Hey folks, man, this is Monk, and we are back with another episode of Classes of Cinematics. And I'm joined as always with my co-host Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo, yo, yo!
Yeah, folks, and today we got a special episode for you. We've got this military thriller called Crimson Tide, directed by the late director Tony Scott, man, starring Denzel, Gene Hackman. And in this film, after the Cold War, a breakaway Russian republic with nuclear warheads becomes a possible worldwide threat. U.S. submarine Captain Frank Ramsey signals on a relatively green but highly recommended Lieutenant Commander Ron Hunter to the USS Alabama, which may be the only ship able to stop a possible Armageddon. Well, Ramsey insists that the Alabama must act aggressively. Hunter, fearing they will start rather than stop a disaster, leads a potential mutiny to stop it. And this film, man, it plays out like a boiler room situation, man. Yeah. It's really dope, man. But let me get into this cast real quick before we get into it. We got Denzel Washington and this playing the new Lieutenant Commander brought onto the ship. We also got Gene Hackman, who plays the captain. We got James Gandolfini in here, George DeZunda, Matt Craven, Viggo Mortensen, Rocky Carroll, man. It's crazy his name is Rocky because I remember him from Rock. Yeah. Playing Joey. Remember Rocky? Just get mad. Damn it, Joey. Then we got Steve Zahn in here, man. Lilo Brancato, a.k.a. Colosino, man. You might remember him from that.
Yep.
What surprised me rewatching this, that this is a submarine film, but it has so much layers that make this really a really good film, man.
Absolutely. I mean, and for me, this was a first time watch, you know, and what I liked about it most is, I mean, it snatches you right by the collar, man, and sits you down and says, man, you in for one on this one. And, you know, it does that because it really discusses and focuses heavy on real-time relevant subject matter. You know what I'm saying? And it does a great job in setting the tone with like highlighting this subject matter with great acting and banter all the way throughout. And, you know, and I like, you know, I've said it before, but I love when movies give a disclaimer at the beginning. And this one, it does that as well. It gives you a list of the three most powerful people in the world: the U.S. president, the president of the Russian Republic, and the captain of the nuclear submarine. So it's like, man,
it's a crazy setup. I'll give people a little bit of background. Basically, there's this rogue faction in Russia that's broke loose. They started a conflict with the Chechens, and he pretty much says, we're ready to blast these nukes. One of the quotes they quote from that guy is, it's crazy. It's like, if one Russian is killed, I will kill 900,000 of the people who did it. And you just like, whoa, this dude is serious, man. So it's a wild situation. He's out here kind of, you know, running amok. The U.S. is trying to contain this, man. So what happens is, it's interesting. Our guy Denzel gets called in to go to work. Ron Hunter, you know, he gets sent to Ramsey's ship to help him, you know, run this ship. And I'm not sure if this is the policy. You got the captain and then maybe the second in command, which becomes Ron, you know, to just help regulate this. And apparently, man, they get a transmission saying, you know, go to alert levels. It's almost nuke time. You know, it's that close to the edge. And they get a partial transmission, telling them to let the nukes go, man. And, our captain, Frank is ready to go. He's ready to let these things, launch. And Ron is trying to convince him to, just wait and figure out, because at this point communications are dead, so they're not getting any more back and forth, so they can't confirm. And Ron is trying to convince Ramsey to confirm the orders before they launch these nukes, because launching these nukes is something you can't take back.
You can't take it back. And the reason why, also, while Hackman's character is so gung ho about it, is because they were just under attack. Like there was another Russian submarine that just hit them with 2 missiles and everything. So he's like, oh well, they already, engaged.
They're already
with
hostile.
us.
They're already hostile.
Yeah.
Out
So
there,
and then what really kind of stands out in this story for me as well, once we get to this point, is you get the good cop, bad cop element, because, Hackman's character, he's so, what's his name again?
That's Ramsey.
Ramsey. Okay, yeah, Ramsey, he's so, like, He's so gung ho with it. He's like, oh, leading with his chest, superior on the ship. What I say goes. Got that old school militant mindset, and and he leads with that, and everybody else is just supposed to fall in line. He's with that. That's kind of how it goes. That's how it's supposed to go. But the thing is once that partial transmission comes in, Denzel's like, okay, but there's a little bit of doubt now. Yeah. That this is something we are about to do something, like you said, we can't take it back. And, we need to be 100% sure that this is what we're supposed to do. Yeah. And that doubt then just creates a major conflict. And like I said, it's like where Denzel, even before they get the transmissions, Hunter's, he's more empathetic with the soldiers. He's like, look, this is just a hostile situation. Everybody's on edge. They're, they're very uncomfortable with what's going on. Let's kind of ease the tension a little bit where, Ramsey, he's like, nah, this is the best time to shift gears. You know what I'm saying? Being on edge is almost, a plus, and he wants to, emphasize that aspect and kind of really
It's
engage.
Interesting too, cause, even before this situation goes down, like, he runs a drill as well too,
Yeah, after there was a fire.
Yeah, so this film is crazy with me because, I'll get into that a little bit later, the acting dynamics, but yeah, he's setting up, they're already in a highly alerted situation, so he throws that at him just to be like, yo, stay on your toes, you know what I'm saying? This drill, but yeah, man, it's really dope, man. So really, most of the film we spend with these two guys teetering back and forth for control, man. Denzel trying his best not to get Ramsey to make a mistake or to preemptively, shoot these missiles. Ramsey trying to convince Denzel and Ron why this should go down. And then there's a mutiny, which makes it really crazy because it's wild to me because I love this part because some of the soldiers they side with Ron Hunter, not because he's doing the right thing, but because he's on regulation. They don't, they might think Ramsey is right, but some of them are following Hunter because they know, like, we can't just overstep the rules.
The code of conduct.
The rules.
Yes.
The checks and balances.
Yes.
Like this is regulations.
Yes.
And even one of them says it. I love that dude, man. He's like, I'm not doing this because I agree with you, but
it was the chief of the boat, big boy that was driving.
But he's overstepping his authority, So that's kind of cool, man. So I think that's what makes this thing such an intense situation. Plus the fact that it takes place on a submarine, so you're dealing with. You're right up next to each other, yo. Yeah. There's these small corridors. Yeah. Everyone, two dudes can't pass each other in the hallway. One has to step aside. Yeah. So you get that really tight confinement. And even later on, there's a fire that breaks out and you see how dangerous even just being on the ship is, man. This thing is full of cool stuff like that.
With this being my first time watch, once the mutiny happened, like it brought me right back to like a film like Lord of the Flies, where you got one in Colonel Hunter who's doing what's righteous. He's like trying to do everything like for the greater good, and then you got Ramsey who he's in survival mode. He's like, man, we need to launch these at them before they launch theirs at us. Because then it's going to be too late. And like you said, with them being in a submarine deep down in the abyss of the ocean, like communication, them having loss of communication is the worst thing that can happen because now they're left to their own devices.
You know what's cool about that? I love that they're isolated. They don't know nothing. They're trying to read. I think there's something wrong with the radio. My man Colosino's on the boards.
Yeah, after the first missile hit them, the communications is destroyed.
So that's dope, but then it almost becomes like, what's that thing? Knock at the Cabin or even Night of the Living Dead where they don't know what's going on outside of this sub, and that creates another cool dynamic for me, even to the point where like damn, yo, and also we've got other subs out here trying to get at us.
Well, and then, crazy. If that's not enough, then you get a second missile attack from another Russian ship that then it like hits the motor and then creates a leak in the bottom. Then now you got some of their crewmen that are dying, trying to save the leak, and you got to make gut-wrenching choices. Oh, close the bay, but there are people down there. No, close it anyways. Are we sinking? What it does is it brings to the light the rough choices that these guys have to make. Not just with pushing the nuke button, but I mean in in harsh situations, I mean, you know, your lives are at stake.
We're showing another micro decision because, you know, we've got the bigger decision about these nukes, but then you're seeing the pressure on these captains to make decisions. And it's not like Hunter is a bad guy in that scene. No. Yo, you got to do what you got to do because it's like, all right, we got a couple men in this hole and we could possibly lose them or we could lose everybody. And that's kind of a messed up choice. It's not this like, dang, you know, you got to go for the greater good sometimes.
Save 2 lives or lose 100.
But yeah, it's a cool story, man, in those regards, man. But this cast is crazy, man. I think we get a good job here. I mean, I love you know, Denzel's Lieutenant Commander Ron Hunter, man. He seems like a smart, capable, a good guy in general. He's got this relationship outside of work with Vigo's character, so that's cool. We get a few moments with them. But yeah, man.
Hunter's the one that you root for. Like, like I said, he's the guy. He seems like, you know, he's got a good head on his shoulders and you can tell that he comes from a different background than what you get from Ramsey. You know, he's a little more aware of what's going on in the world around him. Where once you get into Ramsey, played by Gene Hackman, he's the guy. It's like it's almost hard to root for him.
I root for him in this movie because like honestly, I don't look at either. Like I think that for me, at least how it played out, the dynamics. I don't think either one are wrong, even dude. No. Like they just have different mythologies to the work. I mean, of course, you don't want Hackman to launch these nukes, but it's also still a big what if in the back of your head. Like, damn,
there is.
What if this was the one ship that could have did the strike preemptively? That stopped the missiles that the Russians were going to launch anyway. It's a lot of murky, on the
flip side of that, what if this one man, due to lack of just going through the proper channels and waiting till deemed necessary, what if he started World War III?
Yeah,
because if he would have pressed the button,
I think that's the only difference with their choices is that Ramsey's had much more dire consequences, man. It even comes up later when Hunter's trying to convince him. He was like, "Bro, we've got other subs out here. If we don't pull the trigger, one of our other ones will." And Ramsey is like, "What if they've been sunk by their attacks? You know, what if they didn't survive their attacks by the Russians?" So it's kind of like that blindness. It's fueling both of them, man. It's fueling both of their reactions to it, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't put Ramsey as an evil guy. He's just, you know, ideally his outcome ain't the best. You know,
he's definitely, and he's got that old school mindset, but he definitely, like, he kind of leads with his ego at the forefront.
Oh, there's a lot of ego into it.
He leads with his ego, which that could be dangerous.
You gotta have some balls to run a ship, bro. From you know.
Yeah, no, but there's a difference between, you know, leading with guff and leading with balls and leading with ego. Like, but honestly, also you can tell that he kind of, you know, like when he tells Denzel, he was like, you know, you don't like contradict me in front of the crew. Don't.
But that's what a lot of different disciplines, like outside of military leadership. That's you pull your grievances to the side. Don't do it in the field where my guys can doubt my leadership when something critical happens and they need to believe in me. You know, you just.
But it's almost like he doesn't want no one to question his command, even if it's unethical.
That's the game, yo. The captain goes down. Captain goes down with the ship. Like for me, I don't think this film works without Gene being how he is in this film. It boosts up the entertainment value and it gives something for Denzel's character to spar with, man. Cause like that's what blew me away rewatching this was Gene Hackman's, Frank Ramsey. And I'm looking at him like, usually in a film, I'm used to Denzel just chewing the scenery, eating, owning anyone that's sunning most of the character, the interactions, but to see him, even this is great acting from Denzel to play this subdued character that's still, you know, at the end of the day trying to stand up, you know, for the greater good, you know what I'm saying, and prevent the worst case scenario. It's amazing. He has this time where he stands
above, you know, Hackman when in their banter. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like watching them with their dialogue is like a jousting match. You know what I'm saying? They are constantly trying to one up each other. It's amazing, just on just completely different sides of the spectrum with their views on the situation. And it's cool. It's like a great debate down in the depths of the
from the very beginning when he gets to the ship and Ramsey's interviewing him. It's just like, I'm like, bro, this is only a few minutes into their interaction. I'm like, bro, this is about to go crazy.
I mean, and it's a constant like juxtaposition too. Cause
I love it, man. I love it.
Ramsey is like he seems to keep going over the top with emphasizing the fact that I am the captain and you are second in command, and he's doing everything in his power to keep reminding Hunter of that, but Hunter doesn't need that reminder.
I will say there is one interesting dynamic with this, because I feel like Hunter represents the new generation coming in to taking over the old guard, which is Ramsey. So even Ramsey's poking and prodding of him in a way is kind of mocking the new system. There's certain philosophical ideas he pokes fun at, with this guy. It's like, oh, so it was something, man. He was like, you're undecided. That's, that worries me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Your answer is very safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you picked the safe answer. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's a constant joust. And I think that's what makes this thing such a fun watch, man.
And then, as you dive into the rest of the characters, I mean, they're all just icing on the cake. I mean, what you get from, Gandolfini. I mean,
Gandolfini?
Gandolfini. Yeah. Tony Soprano. But he's good as, a soldier that's riding for Ramsey all the way, you know what I'm saying? And I mean,
most of them are too, man.
Most of them do what's expected as needed, you know what I'm saying? You get the same from Vigo being, Denzel's friend, but then when put in a position to have to make a choice, like, are you going through door A or door B? He makes his choice and he does it with his chest out.
There's a lot of pressure in this, man. Yeah. I don't know how I would be in here. Like, you've got the fate of the world on your shoulders, bro. Yeah. Not just the country, but like, yo, you know what I'm saying? This is something you can't undo.
It's serious.
Once those missiles are in the air, boom. And what if, like I said, what if they launched and they're radio blind and they don't know this thing's been wrapped up?
Yeah.
The guy, what if the guy surrendered? I think, Hunter says that at one time. He's like, what if
how would you know?
How would you know?
You're not anywhere close to, civilization. And that's one thing that's great about this film as a whole, is that it will open up doors of conversation long after the film is over. You know what I'm saying? You can take this into your home at the dinner table, whatever. And it's like all these hypothetical scenarios of the what if, you know what I'm saying? And these characters and this dynamic that they bring to the film really enhances that, as well as, like I said, the writing, the script, the dialogue that we get, not just from the two standouts in Denzel and Hoffman, but from everybody else. Like, it's great to see this banter take charge and almost kind of create a character in itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely some cool stuff. They brought in, Tarantino off the books to spice up the script a little bit too for certain scenes. You could definitely tell. I think the first one I noticed is when those two, the two sailors and they get into a rumble in the rec room.
It was Eric Buchhalter and Danny Nucky.
Yeah. And it's funny to me because, they break it up and he's like, what's this about? And he's like, sir, I don't want to get into it. And
it's kind of childish.
So, and they're fighting over if I forgot if it was, if a certain artist,
run Kirby Silver Surfer.
Yeah, Jack Kirby Silver Surfer or Mobius Silver Surfer.
Which one was better?
And he's like, I know it's stupid, sir. And it's funny. He's like, all right, man, get out of here. Don't do that again. And, Kirby is better.
It's like everybody knows Kirby is better.
So you could tell that's definitely him putting his touch. There's a few moments like that where you could feel like a few of these quips and you're like, man, yeah, that is a little bit extra more than this film would have done if it was just, presented like normally how it's presented.
Even the scene where Denzel as Hunter, where he's talking to, Colloquial, trying to fix the radio. He's like, remember that episode of Star Trek when Captain Kirk needed, Spock to fix the transporter? He's like, well, you're Spock and I'm Captain Kirk. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like the pop culture stuff. That's what Tarantino really brought to the script as a whole.
I'm not 100% sure. But I think, going back, they have a relationship, going back to True Romance. Because Tarantino wrote True Romance, for Tony Scott. So that's kind of cool.
It was kind of becoming a theme where from what Tarantino said, that Tony Scott would kind of reach out to him and ask him to spice up his scripts, at times, and then, apparently there was a little bit of not a major beef, but a disagreement between Denzel and Tarantino about the writing and stuff. But that got all hashed out. Later on
I think they were saying that Denzel said some of this stuff is a little racial. Yeah, and honestly, it kind of rewatching it this morning. The thing with the horses, dude. Yeah, I feel like Gene was trying to take a racial dig in a way. And, with some of that, cause it's also, Denzel is his new guard, but he's also a black man. And I'm pretty sure just military leadership in general, it's harder. You just don't see many of, minorities in these higher command positions, man. So maybe there's some of that. They don't especially go that deep into it, but I feel like it's there, man. Just rewatching this, it's kind of implied, but also it's interesting because I think this may have been the first time Denzel and Tony Scott worked together, but they worked together a lot after this. Like, yes. Crimson Tide. He did, Unstoppable, you know what I'm saying? With some surprise.
That's one with the train, right?
Yeah.
That was good.
Taking a Pelham 123 with him and, John Travolta.
Denzel ain't learned to stay off the train?
Shit. Well, he wasn't really on the train this time. Man on Fire, which is probably one of my it might be my favorite Denzel performance, man. Also Deja Vu, which is a pretty cool film that I gotta rewatch because I don't remember it all of a sudden.
They got a nice catalog.
They got a nice, working relationship, man. So that's kind of cool right there, man.
Definitely. And we touched on it as well. The setting really enhances this film as well. The fact that they give us a little bit of above sea, level.
Yeah, that's it in the beginning.
Just to show us that these people do live normal lives and everything. You see Denzel at his daughter's birthday party in Vigo, and it was there and everything. But then I like, you get this scene with the submarine, like as it's kind of like hovering above sea level, and it's like the last breath of fresh air.
Yeah, we do get a few.
Looks really cool. It's visually appealing and everything. But then once it goes down, like you said, it's those
like 85% of this thing or 90 is on the sub.
It's almost like it gives you that same feeling of like what you get from Alien or something, minus the of course minus the xenomorph. But I mean that tension that is there, just being in a condensed environment like that, just how uneasy, unsettling that can make you feel, you know what I'm saying? And this one does that, but the only difference is, whereas films like Alien, those are fiction, those are fake. This is surrounding real life situations, you know what I'm saying? Even though this is for movie purposes, but people do this in real life. Like, how do you guff up and do something like that? I mean, I tip my hat to people that can do that.
Crazy, man.
I don't know if I could.
Yeah, you got to realize they're in this mini self-contained environment, man. There's a film, years ago, I think might have been, early 80s, man. That's just crazy. Yeah, 1981's Das Boot.
Das Boot.
With Wolfgang Peterson, man. Dude, that film, like, as intense and crazy as this is, that kind of is on a different level. You don't have this captain's conflict, but you have this conflict of this sub being out here just hunting. And hunting and also being prey, man. And that film, like, I'd encourage anyone to check that out. You want to see like intensity and stress and suspense, man. And I love the sound design in that film. You hear the creaks and the cracks and you hear the ship, you get the sense that like, bro, this is a really delicate thing going on. Even though this thing has a lot of power and offensive capabilities, it's also a thin line between millions of gallons of ocean coming in and just crushing you at any minute, dude.
I mean, and to your point, I mean, Das Boot, that is like the goat of submarine.
Yeah, it is, I mean, dude.
It's highly revered, But like you said, I mean, and that's the thing, like when you're seeing this, like I like that they show us a lot of these in the submarine shots, you know what I'm saying? So we get that closeness feeling, but then they also show us a lot of outer shots where you just see like the depths of the ocean, how dark it is. And I mean, just imagine that water pressure. Caverns. Like you said, I mean, there's, I mean, you're not seeing no crazy like water creatures. It's not like a kraken swimming by or no craziness. It's just the depths of the ocean, which is like, that is intimidating enough because it looks endless.
Yeah, man.
It's like the opposite of outer space. You know what I'm saying? You still just,
Man, it's just amazing in general when you think what these submarines do. They're nuclear powered. They can be out there for months at a time, just circling around on patrol, and with hundreds of guys in them. Like, it's nuts, man.
I was thinking too, like as I was watching this, I was like, wait a minute. So they survived 2 missile attacks. I think it was 5 total torpedoes that shot at them, but they're carrying nukes.
Yeah.
So I mean, just imagine how stressful that could be.
It's like, crazy. Oh, like the nuclear tech is crazy.
You ain't getting out of that alive.
Because the thing with the nukes, like, they are not going to go off really unless they are intentionally detonated. Like it's rare that, like, I think there's been instances of I think there was a plane that crashed, a military plane that crashed, like, or blew up over North Carolina, and the nukes actually hit the ground. They didn't blow up. So, like, whatever they got in there to keep them from exploding, it's been pretty good so far to avoid accidental. The crazy thing is when, there's been instances where subs have went down, and that becomes a major concern. It's like, we got to get to the wreckage or find the wreckage and try to get our nukes back before the enemy can. They don't want to try to avoid that. But a lot of times there's been a few instances where they're just, the ocean's deep, man, in certain parts. And it's just like, we don't have the tech to even go down there and pull that out if they want to.
Once you reach a certain point, the pressure just will kill
you're done. The equipment can't even get to certain depth.
Things are going to start caving in on you. And, another thing crazy, that stands out is this score. The score is done by Hans Zimmer. And I mean, oh my gosh, talk about intensifying the moments that are already edge of the seat moments. I mean, it adds to the tension. It adds to the intensity, the feel of this film. But one of the little songs I like the best is at the end when all goes right. It's like superhero music. It's like you just want to see Superman like fly across the top.
This definitely is Avengers coded kind of score. Like if I'm going to compare it to something that's out now, definitely saying along those lines, bro. But just very heroic. The tension when it needs to be, especially during that the scene where they have the fire, during the training.
At the beginning of the mutiny, it's like, oh man, it's like, dude, like there is a line in the sand here, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was done very well, and it plays throughout the whole movie. I mean, like I said, you're getting this awesome dialogue with this like soundtrack behind it. It just makes it hit that much harder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's interesting. Sub movies, they're not a lot of them. No. But there are some good ones, man. I think, just thinking offhand, remember U-571? That came out exactly on 2000. That's pretty good. That one's got McConaughey and Bill Paxton and Harvey Keitel. And that one, they actually hijack a Russian sub, what I'm saying? Okay. And to continue out their mission. So they're still out there hunting. And,
I remember Hunt for Red October with Sean Connery.
Hunt for Red October.
That was a good one.
Greyhound recently came out. I think that went straight to streaming. That was pretty good. That was based on a true story. That was with Tom Hanks was the captain on that one.
Okay.
There's a few ones out there. I remember K-19. That was one that came out. With Harrison Ford. I think that was in 2002. And like you said, man, Hunt for Red October, that's definitely...
that's probably, honestly, between that and Das Boot, were probably the only submarine films that I have seen up until watching this one.
Then you got the parody, Down Periscope.
There you go. Make it fun. Fun.
But like I said, man, the combination of the environment, the situations, they can make for some really intense kind of filmmaking.
Well, from what I'm seeing, I mean, like they carry the same tone as films when you watch a shuttle launch into space. It's almost like the same concept, just a different. You're just a different part of that, the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's condensed quarters and surrounded by nothingness until some crazy shit happens.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, bro. Yeah. But I think we can wrap this one up, folks, man. I would definitely highly recommend watching this, man. Especially it's Black History Month, man. So watch a film with a strong black lead.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, you don't see too many people getting to go toe to toe with Hackman like this and getting to hold their own, man. Like this is one of those films I feel like, Denzel definitely learned something from. It's almost like a passing the torch moment. You get Hackman doing one of his last great performances, and then you get a guy who's on top of the game, also in the film at the same time, man. Like I don't think Hackman has many more memorable performances after this. There's a couple good films that came out that he was in, but I don't think he got to eat up and own the scenery like he did in this, man. This is, to me, this is up there with his Little Bill, thing in there. It's just as intense. You just enjoy watching a guy just be and like just live the character, man. And it's crazy, man.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. The rewatchability is there. Like I said, it's just, the dialogue, the banter between the two is just, it's unmatchable. You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen a lot of films where it's just takes charge the way it does in this film. But then also I like the fact that, even though this film wasn't really supported by the real life Navy, it does still have such a realistic undertone to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, it opens up the door for conversations long after you see the film, just, on a whole different wavelength in the world that we live in and situations that could potentially happen.
Yeah. Like I said, man, it's still hard for me to look at Hackman as the bad guy. I just look at two guys who had the same mission, but opposite ideals of how it should be carried out. And it's just interesting to me to see how that conflict is portrayed on this film, man. And I think they knock it out the park.
Well, I remember, we were talking about Full Metal Jacket, and I was talking about the drill sergeant that was riding Gomer Pyle, man. I was like, man, he's kind of like a bad guy. And like, but was he really?
Yeah, most of the people didn't come out like Pyle. I think Pyle's issues were before he even got there.
So that's the thing. You got to understand the military mindset and how, how things are done, and to understand why certain, commanders or whatever in their position.
But I still think that system failed, Pyle, because someone in the recruitment office, I'm pretty sure it was draft time, and his number got called up. He should have been like, nah, bro, we're not. Yeah.
Nah. You're mentally not there. You don't have the mental capacity.
You're not ready for this. But I think there's a ton of guys that get in, and as a result, you get a ton of guys who were also should have been washed out, who probably didn't even have the right psych profile to be doing this stuff. Yeah. And they go out there anyway, and they come back years later, and then there's problems. Yeah. It's like, come on, bro. Like, so yeah, man, it's crazy.
You can't, like you said, was Hoffman really bad?
Hackman?
Yeah. See, I knew I was going to do it once. I on the show.
It's funny because I do love the post debriefing we get at the end where they're both kind of in trouble. Yeah. And they're getting reviewed by the military higher ups. And the one guy says it's such a weird thing because the guy he's kind of chastising them. He's like, both of you are right and both of you are wrong. And then he's just like it's wild.
But then he tells him, he says, but the situation that y'all put to the forefront is going to haunt
us for years
to come.
Because in a way, their checks and balances system failed, you know, and that's one of the things, man, because also it's hard, bro. It's hard to envision every scenario. They're not going to sit there and be like, what if we send a partial order and then the comms get knocked out and they don't hear it's hard to imagine everything that can go wrong, bro. And that's crazy, man. Yeah. Well, we're out of here, folks. So you can imagine this show ended. But
yeah, exactly. We got another 5 minutes past the outro.
Yeah. But we out of here, folks, man. We're gonna holler at y'all, man. We're gonna check y'all out on the next show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. Catch me at Monkey Blood on Twitter and Instagram.
And this is Bobby Blockbuster. As always, you can catch me on the next show.
All right, we out of here, folks. Peace.